Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about dumped over a tiny fight and then I love you.
Whoa, that puts your head in a spin.
Yeah. And these things happen. Sometimes people get really upset in the moment and they want to end things and then they change their mind or they'll be like, I love you, but we can't be together anymore. Mm-hmm. And so people can really struggle to have an internal structure of how they want to live their life, and they allow their emotions to get the best of them and sometimes use those things as reasons to run away from a commitment or a connection.
Oh yeah, and it can feel like an emotional roller coaster. You know, one day you're feeling like the intensity of a connection, the next day you're breaking up over spilt beans.
Yep.
So, it can be very intense, things can change really quickly, and it sets up an environment for your relationship where you feel like, anything could destroy this. It becomes very fragile.
Yeah, it's a good point. So today we got an email coaching that we're going to go over. This is from a woman in her early 30s that was dating a guy right around the same age for about 4 years. And they lived together for about 2 of those years. Now they've known each other since middle school. It's a long time.
That is a long time.
And they didn't become romantically involved until they reconnected in the fall of 2021. So they said, we became exclusive only a month later, and I think he said, I love you then, so we moved in together very quickly. Now, remember, they've known each other for a long time, or at least of each other. Right. You know what I mean? They went to maybe middle school or high school together or something. We had a lot of fun together and got along well for the most part, but whenever we had a disagreement, we both had 2 very different conflict approaches. I leaned more anxious, so I wanted to talk things out right away, or at least in a couple of hours, but he would sometimes need multiple days to process.
Yeah.
And this is the anxious avoidant trap, right? One person wants to repair that connection because they can't sit with that space, the ambiguity, the feeling of abandonment, and the other person shuts down. They need to be by themselves. They don't want to talk about things. It's like handling it the exact opposite way.
I'm really glad that she's been able to recognize it, at least now. Sometimes we don't realize it until after our breakup and say, oh, that was the dynamic we were in. That's why we got into these types of fights or arguments, or that's why they ended the way they did.
Yeah. And most of you guys learned this stuff after the breakup, of course. And she says, based on what I've learned lately, I think he's more avoidant. So it sounds like she learned it afterwards.
Yeah.
I thought things were going fine, but we had a disagreement in January over something stupid that I ended up apologizing for a couple of hours later. However, he couldn't accept my apology right away and said he needed time to make sure he wasn't overreacting. The disagreement was about me wanting the house to be clean before guests came over, so nothing crazy. Okay, so imagine this. They got company coming. She was probably upset, stressed out that the house isn't clean enough. A lot of people are like this. This is a fairly normal thing for a lot of people. If you're having company over, you want the house clean. Maybe she was frustrated that he wasn't helping enough or doing what she expected him to do. I don't know. But then for him to say he needs to make sure he's not overreacting to that kind of argument. It's kind of like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And it makes me think about what kind of meaning they're attaching to all of that. Is one person calling the other one clumsy or incompatible because of their cleaning habits? Maybe it's the way they had the disagreement where, one of them doesn't feel heard, or maybe it becomes like one where they're attacking each other. So we don't know how the disagreement ensued, but it sounds like they could be attaching a lot more meaning to that small moment.
She said she apologized. So my guess is she was probably frustrated that things weren't clean enough or up to her standards, and he was maybe not helping as much as she wanted, got frustrated, and they got into an argument. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal, right?
I could see him going into, well, this always happens. It's always been like this. I mean, they've been together now for 4 years. So, they know each other fairly well, and they knew each other from middle school too.
True.
So I could see him seeing this small fight as another example as to why things will never change. And those who are more avoidant, they tend to be a lot more distrustful. They tend to be a lot more rigid in their thinking.
Well, they also don't want those responsibilities and obligations.
That as well.
They don't want to take care of people. I don't want to clean the house like you want me to clean it. I don't want to do all that work like you want me to. All right, let's go on here. She says, we never had any issues with infidelity or verbal abuse, etc. This disagreement turned into nearly a week of him stonewalling me and dropping hints that he might want to break up, saying, I just need to think about what's best for me in the long run.
Whoa.
That seems like a huge jump from what this argument was about. So for me, the argument isn't really about cleaning the house, right? Maybe there is some kind of trigger going on here. And so he is stonewalling her. He doesn't like the pressure of the responsibilities of the commitment. And maybe he's been resentful about having to do things her way around the house. And that's why he probably is looking to run. Right?
Yeah. And you have to remember that people are going through their own stages in life. I know that he is in his early 30s. We don't know what kind of, life expectations he has for himself, or, what things that are related to his family that might be going on. So there's a lot of other factors that could be at play here that cause him to think maybe my relationship has to go for me to deal with these things. So I think it could be past resentment building up over time. I think it could also be anything else. Sometimes when you see this little small argument cause something greater, there's deeper layers to it.
Sure.
And it's not just, she's a bad partner.
Yeah,
which I don't think is the case here at all.
Let's see what happens. By the time we finally spoke in person a week later, he was so cold and distant and spoke not very kindly to me. So that tells me he didn't want to repair it. At that point, he was looking to break up. And he wasn't going to probably communicate very well, but let's see what he did. I was in tears, but he just looked annoyed that I was crying. He ended up leaving mid-conversation despite me pleading to talk. So I finally told him, fine, we're over then. His stonewalling had become increasingly worse over the last year, so I had enough. Okay, so she was getting frustrated. She's making these bids to repair it. He's being mean. He's being cold. I can't take it anymore.
I'll also add, sometimes with the stonewalling, sometimes it can be because the partner is overwhelmed. Sometimes it could be, I'm stonewalling because I want to see you react so that you are proving to me that you care about me. I don't know how much of that is true here, but just a thought that I had.
Let's go on. The next day, I moved all of my stuff out of our shared apartment. When we spoke over text the following day, he said things like, I love you so, so, so much. And I just feel disgust and shame with myself. You deserve someone who will listen to you. I'm so heartbroken. This is the most painful thing I've been through.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, the shame part, I mean, it's like saying he doesn't like who he is. He probably feels guilty about how he's showing up. I hear some guilt in here. And he knows that she deserves someone that's maybe more patient or understanding.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes with these avoidance, that they have these internal things going on, and this shame here makes them want to run away.
Oh, yeah. And I wonder just how much over time in the last 4 years he's suppressed everything, right? And so I could see he's kind of numbed himself out, or has become like desensitized to these arguments because that's his go-to. And in one level, he's almost looking at this in like a meta way, like looking at the way that he's reacting to all of this and saying, ooh, I don't like how I'm reacting to this. This isn't fair to this other person. I, on some level, know that I'm not treating this person well.
True. Yeah, I agree. We had a final in-person conversation where I asked for a second chance, but he told me he couldn't say yes, and that, quote unquote, in the future, if I choose you, I want it to be my choice. Okay, so he doesn't want to be pressured,
Yeah.
right? It's a weird way of putting it.
Yeah. Whose choice would it be?
Hers, I guess. He also said he would like to be friends in time and didn't want this to be the last time he saw my family and me. However, when he reached out a couple of weeks later to ask a logistics question, I told him I didn't want friendship with him, only a romantic relationship, and to reach out in the future if he ever felt that way, but that I'll always love him and wish him well. He just put a heart on the message, but I didn't respond. Okay, so I think that she expressed herself clearly here, right? She didn't want friendship. She wants something romantic. And if he ever feels that way, to reach out. I think that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think she made it clear, and I think she had also set her boundaries here. She's not just going to be lingering in the background, and she's not just going to entertain this, kind of make him feel better whenever he needs. It's more of, okay, if you want this relationship to go on, be clear about it, and let's make a decision together.
Yep. So her question here is, do you think there's a chance of reconciliation here? Yes, I do. But you gotta leave him alone. I would not reach out to him again. We need him to feel that loss. He needs to realize that he's gonna lose somebody that really cares about him, and there are a lot of good things about this relationship, that it's not perfect. There's some arguments and maybe some pressures or obligations that he doesn't like, but overall you're gonna lose somebody that loves you and treats you good.
Yeah. I think in this next part, I'm reading ahead. I think in this next part, she's going to give us more context here.
On this part here? I also think he was having a rough week at work. That week we fought. He works as a server at a well-known fancier restaurant. And I feel like when he would get stressed, instead of relying on me and confiding in me, he would shut down. That might have added to the problem. I have a stressful job as well, but I love being able to rely on him during those times. It's been 20 days of no contact, and I still miss him so much.
Yeah, I would say the chance of reconciliation here also depends on how willing he would be to work on these types of issues.
Yeah.
I could see this relationship working, but if stress is one of those things that adds to his shutdown, then, could this lead to a pattern of, okay, we're going to break up the next time I am in another stressful period of my life?
Yeah.
So I think it's important for him, too, to look at these things, but that will be a journey that he has to do on his own.
There may be some things that he hasn't told her.
That, too.
Right? I mean, it seems like he must have some stuff bottled up inside that he didn't say. Because prior to this, it doesn't sound like he gave any warnings of things he was unhappy about.
Yeah. And the shame, the line about the shame also makes me curious about if there's something he's not telling her or something that's harder to say. Sure.
I think he'll reach out, though. I think at some point he's going to reach out. I mean, he may take, some time to do that. It would be normal. I don't think he's going to reach out in 30 days or something. And if he does, it'll be about like, I found that wrench. Did you want that wrench? I mean, it is.
Yeah.
These lame excuses people do. They're indirect directs. I wouldn't be surprised if she got something like that sooner than later. Or did you want me to fix that toilet before I moved out or whatever, something like that. But I don't think he's going to be ready yet. I think he's going to really have to feel the loss, see what life is like without her again. Like, what is it like? Feel that void. And then I think he's going to be like, what have I done? We had so much. Why would I do this?
I think initially, because he's in that stressful period, he's going to feel like, okay, I have a breather now. If my place is a mess, then it will stay a mess. Maybe he was the one that was super clean. We don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe. But point is,
Probably
he's going
not.
to... Probably not. But point is, he's going to be able to have his space the way that he wants his space. I think initially, even if he could be, grieving the relationship and feeling all of that shame, there is that avoidant relief of, okay, nobody's witnessing me in my filth right now. Yeah. And there can be like a comfort that comes in that. So I imagine that for right now, he's probably experiencing that, and it will take some time for him to realize, okay, yes, there might have been arguments in this relationship, but knowing somebody for 4 years, there's a lot of comfort in that too. There's a lot of familiarity. That person feels like home. There's a sense of belonging there. So, I imagine that with time, it's going to be something that he reflects on.
Well, it's so confusing because you go from fighting about something like cleaning the house before guests come to I love you so much, but I feel such shame and disgust with myself. It's like, hold on, like if you're feeling that way about yourself, and I can see, he's probably struggling with that mental health issue. It's still not related to the dynamic of him and her.
Right.
That's something about him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's got to figure himself out and what's going on with him as well. And, you don't want to put your life on hold here. It's about trying to find that balance of letting him go and trying to heal and move on and learn from this. And also planning for what to do if he comes back. How do you have something healthy with him again if he comes back?
Another thing I want to add is you want to listen very carefully when somebody gives you reasonings as to why the relationship is ending. Here, I don't think it was about the argument, but I think he did give you that sentence about the shame and feeling disgust with himself. That's really important, and it's not something that I would ignore. There probably is some truth to that, in the sense, not saying truth to the fact that he's disgusting and should be feeling shame, but just in maybe he isn't listening to you in the ways that you need. It seems like there he had recognized something about himself. He viewed it in an unhealthy way through that lens of shame, but there might be just that grain of truth of maybe this person isn't able to be there for you, support you in this time. So I do think that, he's an individual who has quite a bit to figure out, but I would also give yourself some of this space because it sounds like you've already had a lot of insight since the breakup about what's been going on in your 4-year relationship.
Yep.
So in my eyes, that's a huge win. And I would say keep digging, keep understanding yourself better. Don't wear yourself out, but keep pushing.
Yeah, you really want to focus on how you can heal and not get caught back up into that anxious avoidant trap when he comes back.
Yeah.
The workbooks and the creative healing course would really help you focus on something positive in no contact, because I do think he's going to reach out.
Yeah, I could see it.
All right. Hopefully this one's been helpful to you. Of course, if you'd like to get our help personally, you can go to my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Coach Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.